All right, rounding out the year with estate planning. So it is December 2023, and we are going to end the year of our coffee break sessions with estate planning, wills, and trusts. What do you need to know about them? Now, just so you know, we are not estate planning attorneys. We don't do trusts and wills, but we talk a lot to our clients about legacies and like what do you want to leave for your family, to this world, to your friends, to charities you want to support. So we talk a lot about legacy planning, and a lot of that goes into talking to an estate planning attorney and dealing with trusts and wills. And I think a lot of times people don't want to go talk to an estate planning attorney because they're afraid that they're going to talk to them about things that they don't understand and that they're going to feel dumb, honestly. I think the other fear is people don't like talking about what happens after you pass away. Nobody wants to talk about death, which I get that. Um, but this presentation is really just to give you a little bit of knowledge so that when you do get that time to go to the estate planning attorney that fits for you, that you have some basic knowledge and that you won't feel dumb. Now, I cannot help you if you don't want to face reality that we all are going to pass away at some point, but I can help you with this part of it. So, all right, so what is Coffee Break? Just as a reminder for those of you who might not have seen a video before, it is made for 401k participants. So if you are eligible or contributing to a 401k, this is for you. You're not getting a lot of financial planning help a lot of the time, so we want to be there to give you some basic knowledge. This is just a quick peek into some strategies you can look at. It's 15 minutes or max. You're supposed to be able to have your cup of coffee and watch this and get some knowledge and then go back to work. And we're just covering highlights. So if you have a specific question about your situation, feel free to set up a no obligation call with us. There will be a QR code at the end of this. So if you're ready to go, just skip to the end and use it. But otherwise, take a look at what we have to say about wills and trusts. All right. And so who is we? Who is One Vision Retirement? It is myself, Lisa Sakai, and Christopher Whalen. We are the co-founders of One Vision Retirement. As you can see, we have lots of years of experience in this. I tend to do a lot of personal planning. I work a lot with women, trying to help them get to financial freedom. Most of my clients want to try to have financial independence, financial freedom by the time that they're in their 50s. So we focus on that. And I do tend to specialize on women who do not have kids. There are special nuances of your planning that you need to take a look at. Chris does kind of the opposite. He does some personal planning, but he mainly works with business owners on putting together plans like the 401k, profit sharing plans, all those things that are available to you as benefits. He is part of that world. So he's a great one to kind of help you explain the benefits that you have and why they're in place and how to take advantage of them. So let's get into estate planning. So what is a will? A lot of times I feel like, we're kind of nodding along that we know what this stuff is, but we really don't get an education of what it is. So I'm kind of just going through the basics here. But according to Investopedia, my gosh, that is hard to say. Got a couple of things from them, so I've got to learn how to say it. A will is a document that directs the distribution of your assets after your death to your designated heirs and beneficiaries. So basically, it's saying, I want this to go to this person. Now, it's an official document and it has to be signed and witnessed by a notary. I have a lot of people that come in and say, well, I've written something down on a piece of paper and it's in my, security deposit box. That doesn't count. Okay, it's not an official will that way. The will actually gets taken to probate court in your jurisdiction and the executor carries it out. It's an official document. So you do have to actually have an actual will done for it to be official. I know you might be laughing at that, but that comes up to me more often than not, I will tell you. And so the one thing about wills is they don't avoid probate. Now, a lot of people say, well, what is probate? So let's go to what probate is. Probate from Investopedia, I said it better that time, is a legal process that occurs when a person dies that involves the validation and administration of their will. So what happens with or without a will is people can come and challenge the validity of your will and challenge what you have put into it and who you want things to go to. And does it necessarily mean that they're going to win by challenging it? No, not necessarily. The court might put it through exactly how you want it to, but it delays a lot of things and it can be very expensive because you're going through a legal battle basically. And also, do you want to leave your heirs having to deal with that, your executor having to deal with that? A lot of people don't. One way to avoid probate is have a trust. And we'll go through what a trust is and how that works in a second. The other is to make sure that you have beneficiaries attached. It's much harder to show probate when a beneficiary is attached. So things like your 401k, your IRAs, your Roth IRAs, your bank accounts. A lot of people don't realize your bank accounts can have that as well. And some states have some beneficiary designation forms for bigger items. I've heard of that for homes or for automobiles or things like that as well. That's not every state, and you really want to talk to an estate planning attorney before you put that in place and make sure that that fits for your situation, of course. But at the same time, a lot of people forget or they put it in place once and they think it's just taken care of and they don't review it. And that's a big problem because a lot of people don't realize that maybe their beneficiary got wiped out on the system. It's not active anymore. Especially in 401ks, 401ks often will get moved. Let's say your 401k moved from Vanguard to Fidelity. They don't move your beneficiary with that. So you actually have to go in and reassign your beneficiary. And a lot of people don't realize that. So your 401k might not have a beneficiary attached to it. So make sure you go double check. I would say 3 or 4 out of 10 who come to me do not have a beneficiary up to date or somebody that they don't want anymore. That happens all the time too. So make sure you are regularly updating it because you don't want this going to somebody that you're not talking to. You want to make sure it's going to who you want it to go to, right? That's the point of it. Beneficiaries aren't necessarily for sure going to take care of probate, but they definitely make a better case, obviously, than not having a beneficiary attached. Now, a trust, as I said, can also take care of probate. And so what is a trust? A trust is a legal arrangement that provides for the transfer of assets from their owner, called the grantor or trustor, to a trustee. It sets the terms for the trustee's management of the assets. So it helps distribute the assets in the way that you want and will most of the time help you avoid probate. You tend to use trusts with bigger assets that don't have a beneficiary attached. So like I said, a home, most of the time you cannot attach a beneficiary. And so you might have the trust own your home so that it can get distributed out to your heirs and who you want it to go to much easier. You can also put other assets in here that don't have some kind of beneficiary attached. So there are certain types of investment accounts that don't necessarily have a beneficiary attached to it. So you want it to be held in the name of the trust. So a lot of people have that kind of thing. Now, when you get a trust, you also get wills, and those wills will pour into the trust or pour over into the trust, I think is the exact terminology you're supposed to use, so that the trust takes over when the distribution is supposed to happen. Now, a lot of people say, well, there's so many trusts, it's so hard to figure out what I should be doing. There are a lot of trusts, and this is why you need to talk to an estate planning attorney about your specific situation, because I don't know what kind of trust you should have, right? I know most people have what's called a revocable trust, which means it's a family trust that can get changed. The grantors or the people who put in place, you guys, can make any changes that you need to before either one or both of you pass away, depending on how the trust is set up. That is the most typical trust, is the revocable trust. There's also things called irrevocable trusts, where once it's set up, there's no changes. You cannot make changes to it. Those are a little bit more rare, but they do come up, especially for businesses or for certain estate planning things that you're trying to accomplish that you want to take care of. There are also tons of other trusts that people don't consider. And they won't necessarily take place of a revocable trust, but maybe they have to go alongside of them. So there are special purpose trusts, there are charitable trusts, there are special needs trusts, there's just tons of them out there. So you want to make sure that you are getting the right kind of trust for your situation. So definitely talk to an estate planning attorney that you trust. Trust, right? Okay. Done with that. Done with the weird dad joke I just made. Okay. So what happens if you pass without a will? That's kind of the biggest question that happens. Well, if I don't do anything, what actually happens? So if you don't have any kind of estate planning in place, you don't have a will, you don't have anything, basically you've left it up to others to make decisions for you. And others typically means the government. So the government gets to decide what happens to your estate. It's not really a fun topic to talk about estate planning, right? We've already covered that. It's like life insurance. Nobody wants to talk about their life insurance either because it has to deal with death. And there are lots of other things that are involved with it, but ultimately you're talking about if you pass. My husband and I just redid our trust, and he kind of left and he said, "Wow, that was kind of depressing," and it is a little depressing. I mean, you're talking about when you pass away, but if you have a certain way you want to leave this world, a certain impression you want to make, certain people you want to take care of, it is really important to get this done. And I know for me, I can only talk for myself. I have certain wishes I want, and I don't want people to make those determinations for me. I have certain people I want things to go to, and certain people I don't. And I don't want government getting involved for sure. So estate planning is really important. And, we just kind of have to push through the icky things that we don't want to do. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's part of being grown up. We have to do things we don't want to do. And estate planning is one of them. And, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are. I have people who are 80 years old who are kind of going, I don't want to do this. Well, of course you don't want to do it. But, something that a responsible adult takes a look at and see what you need to do. So, at the conclusion of this, estate planning really needs to be considered, whether you think you have assets or not. I'll tell this story. He watches this, so I'm sure he'll say, well, I don't know why you said this, but it's true. When I first got into this business, I called him up once I kind of heard about trust. And I said, do you guys have a trust? And he said, that's for uber wealthy people. And I said, no, it's not. It's for people like you. And luckily, we got a trust in place, and that he's very active in making sure everything's up to date in his trust, which is good. But that is the conception, or the misconception, I'd say, is that people think that trusts are for the uber wealthy. And that is not true. It is for the everyday person to consider wills and trusts. So you want to make sure that you also have beneficiaries on everything. You want to make sure that they're up to date, and you want to consult an estate planning attorney in your state. Most estate planning attorneys cannot do it blanketly across the states. They're attorneys. They have to be licensed with the state that they're in, and that's usually how they're set up. There are some services out there, like LegalZoom and all those things that you can utilize. Just be careful because you have to be very detail oriented with those things, and a lot of mistakes happen. So, if you use one of those services, just make sure you understand the risk that you're taking by doing that, and it might not necessarily cover everything you want. So, in conclusion, schedule a call if you have questions on how to tackle legacy planning. Legacy planning is important part of what you want to do and how you want to leave this world. So schedule a call with us. We'll help you vet some estate planning attorneys in your area. If that's something you need, if you're one of our clients, we do that as part of our overall package and fee for that. So feel free to, reach out to us, ask some questions. We have a saying for us, which is we say things in a way that people can actually understand it. That is one of our superpowers, we call it. So if you're just confused, feel free to set up this call. We are happy to chat with you about that. And with that, we end 2023 and we will head into 2024 with some more information for you.